podcast inspired by my local radio station, Bolton FM. 5 short, snappy soundbites around the aspects of emotional intelligence. In this series, we're exploring common biases and fallacies that can significantly shape the way we interpret information and make decisions. In this episode, we explore the Dunning-Kruger effect, Apophenia, our tendency to perceive meaningful connections between unrelated things, brand loyalty, the argument from authority, and the argument from ignorance. I hope you enjoy this episode of The Thought That Counts.
The Thought That Counts.
Have you ever felt like you absolutely nailed a presentation only to receive lukewarm feedback? Or perhaps you breezed into a new project brimming with confidence, only to find yourself quickly overwhelmed. You're not alone. Human beings, it turns out, are often remarkably poor judges of their own competence and the true difficulty of complex tasks, a phenomenon famously captured by the Dunning-Kruger effect. This cognitive bias highlights a fascinating and often frustrating reality. The less skilled we are in a particular area, the more likely we are to overestimate our abilities. Conversely, those who are truly competent tend to underestimate their relative skill. Think of the enthusiastic novice who believes they're already an expert, while the seasoned professional acknowledges the nuances and challenges they still face. Why does this happen? It boils down to a lack of metacognitive ability, the capacity to reflect on our own thinking and performance. If we lack the skills to perform a task well, we also lack the skills to recognize our own incompetence. We don't know what we don't know. This can lead to inflated self-assessments and a failure to recognize the true complexity of what lies ahead. The implications are significant, both personally and professionally. Overconfidence can lead to taking on tasks we're ill-equipped for, making poor decisions and hindering our own learning and development. In team settings, it can lead to friction and an underestimation of the effort required for successful outcomes. So how can we navigate this inherent bias? The first step is awareness. Recognizing that we're susceptible to the Dunning-Kruger effect is crucial. Cultivating humility and seeking feedback from trusted sources can provide a more realistic perspective on our abilities. The next time you feel unwavering confidence in a new endeavor, take a moment to pause. Are you truly equipped, or is your enthusiasm outpacing your expertise? A healthy dose of self-reflection and a willingness to learn might just be the most accurate predictor of future success.
The Thought That Counts.
That shiver down your spine when you think of an old friend and they suddenly call. The uncanny feeling when a song perfectly describes your current situation. We've all experienced coincidences that feel so pointed, so meaningful, they seem to hint at something more. But before you chalk it up to fate, destiny, or the universe winking at you, consider a more grounded explanation: apophenia. Apophenia is our human tendency to perceive meaningful patterns and connections in random and meaningless data. It's the same mechanism that makes us see faces in clouds or constellations in the night sky. Our brains are hardwired to seek order and make sense of the world, even when that order isn't really there. Think about the sheer volume of events happening around us all the time, with billions of people, countless interactions, and an endless stream of data points. Coincidences are not just possible, they're statistically inevitable. Imagine drawing cards from a deck repeatedly. Eventually you'll draw the same card twice in a row. It doesn't mean the deck is sentient or trying to send you a message. It's simply the nature of probability. The miraculous feeling often associated with coincidences stems from our natural inclination to find significance. When something unexpected aligns with our thoughts or feelings, it grabs our attention and feels special. Our minds then weave a narrative seeking a cause or a deeper connection where none exists. The truth is, the meaning we ascribe to coincidences largely comes from within. Our hopes, fears, and current preoccupations act as filters, highlighting certain events and giving them personal significance. That song felt meaningful because you were already feeling that emotion. That call from a friend seemed like fate because they were on your mind. While these moments can be intriguing and even emotionally resonant, it's important to remember the power of our own minds in creating these connections. Acknowledging Apophenia doesn't diminish the wonder of a surprising coincidence, but it does offer a more realistic perspective. Instead of searching for external meaning in the whispers of chance, perhaps the real magic lies in the intricate workings of our own pattern-seeking brains.
The thought that counts.
That unwavering loyalty to your favourite coffee shop, the steadfast refusal to switch smartphone brands, the almost visceral defence of the car that you drive. We often believe these preferences stem from a series of logical, well-reasoned decisions made at the point of purchase. I bought this because it was the best, we might declare. But what if that conviction is more about protecting our ego than reflecting a truly objective evaluation? Enter the fascinating world of post-purchase rationalization, a powerful psychological mechanism that heavily influences brand loyalty. The truth is, human beings have a strong need for cognitive consistency. We want our beliefs and actions to align. When we make a purchase, especially a significant one, admitting it might have been less than perfect can create uncomfortable dissonance. To alleviate this internal conflict and maintain a positive self-image, we often unconsciously rationalize our past choices. Think about it. If you spent a considerable amount of money on a particular brand, acknowledging its flaws or the merits of a competitor can feel like admitting you made a mistake. This can threaten our sense of competence and good judgment. To avoid this, we tend to focus on the positives of our chosen brand, downplaying its negatives, and even actively seeking out information that confirms our initial decision. This isn't necessarily a conscious, malicious act. It's a subtle, often automatic process driven by our desire to feel consistent and competent. We might convince ourselves that the slightly higher price was worth the superior quality, even if the objective difference is minimal. We might overlook minor annoyances because it just feels right. Brand loyalty in this context becomes less about a purely rational assessment of features and benefits and more about safeguarding our own sense of self. Our past choices become intertwined with our identity. Switching brands can feel like admitting a past error, which our minds are often reluctant to do. Understanding this psychological bias doesn't negate the possibility of genuinely superior products or services. However, it does offer a valuable perspective on the stickiness of brand loyalty. Sometimes that fierce allegiance isn't solely rooted in objective superiority, but also in the powerful human need to feel like we made the right call all along. Recognizing this can help us become more aware of our own biases and perhaps even open ourselves up to exploring alternatives, even if it means gently challenging a past version of ourselves.
The thought that counts.
We like to think that we're rational beings, carefully evaluating information based on its inherent merit and logical consistency. But the truth is, we're often swayed by something far less objective, the perceived authority of the person delivering the message. This cognitive shortcut is known as the argument from authority. It can lead us to accept claims not because they're sound, but because they come from someone we deem knowledgeable, powerful, or influential. Think about it. Are you more likely to readily accept a complex scientific explanation from a renowned professor with a string of accolades, or from a random person on the street? While the street corner philosopher might be right, our initial inclination often leans towards trusting the individual with established credentials. This isn't inherently rational. Experts in their field often possess deep knowledge and experience. However, the problem arises when we accept a claim solely based on the status of the speaker, without critically examining the evidence or logic presented. The fallacy lies in assuming that someone's position, title, or fame automatically guarantees the validity of their statements, even outside their area of expertise. We see this play out constantly: a celebrity endorsing a health product, a CEO offering opinions on political matters, or a historical figure being quoted on contemporary social issues. Their status lends an air of credibility, even if their expertise in the specific subject is questionable or non-existent. Our brain often takes this shortcut because it's cognitively efficient. Evaluating every piece of information rigorously takes time and effort. Relying on the perceived authority of a source can feel like a reliable way to quickly assess validity. However, this shortcut can blind us to flawed reasoning, biased perspectives, and even outright misinformation. True critical thinking requires us to look beyond the messenger and focus on the message itself. We should ask, what's the evidence? What's the logic? Are there alternative perspectives? While respecting expertise is important, blindly accepting claims based on authority alone can lead us astray. Recognizing our susceptibility to the argument from authority is the first step towards becoming more discerning consumers of information and developing a more reasoned and evidence-based understanding of the world.
The thought that counts.
Faced with the unknown, our human minds often recoil from a simple, "I don't know." Instead, a fascinating and sometimes unsettling phenomenon takes hold. When something can't be readily explained, we don't necessarily gravitate towards rigorous proof. Instead, we become more susceptible to accepting strange, even outlandish explanations. This tendency is closely linked to the argument from ignorance. The argument from ignorance essentially asserts that a claim is true simply because it hasn't been proven false, or false because it hasn't been proven true. In situations shrouded in uncertainty, this logical fallacy can open the door to a wide array of unconventional beliefs. Think about historical examples. Before scientific understanding of disease was widespread, plagues were often attributed to divine wrath, witchcraft, or malevolent spirits. The lack of a clear, provable explanation fueled the acceptance of supernatural causes. Similarly, in modern times, unexplained aerial phenomena can quickly lead to theories of extraterrestrial visitors, not necessarily because there's definitive proof, but because conventional explanations are lacking. The argument from ignorance thrives in the fertile ground of the unexplained. While scientific methods champion rigorous testing and evidence-based conclusions, The human psyche, when confronted with a void of understanding, can be drawn to the more colourful, the more extraordinary, the less constrained by the burden of proof. Recognising this tendency is crucial for developing critical thinking and resisting the allure of strange explanations simply because conventional ones are elusive. True understanding often begins with the humble admission, we don't know yet.
The thought that counts.